petitions, memorials, and complaints. Cheyenne Clark is here about goats.
We have them in a temporary home right now, and we did have something set up, but because of insurance issues, we could not move them there. We were wondering I was wondering if I could temporarily move them back out to the horse corrals till we either get the okay from two people that when they come back from Florida will take them, or we find a place we're gonna rent in the near future. And it would be just for temporary containment or control.
Are these 4-H?
No, because I litterd them both, I can't put them in 4-H. And because one's a paper Nigerian dwarf, they have no category for him, and he's also littered.
Mandy, what's the real one?
I honestly don't know if I was anymore.
Okay.
We haven't been up there for several years now.
Okay. Thinking we don't have anybody that's on the, okay. So we probably need to check with Horsemen's Association. Did you check with them?
Yes, my mom did, so, and sadly she didn't want to come because she's not feeling well right now. But, I don't know who the president and vice president is anymore. It is not my parents anymore. And so, as far as I know, the Horsemen's did say yes to it, as long as we do get rid of our second corral that we are not using. And we move the stuff over to our other corral.
We'll have to recommend we get with the Horsemen's Association and get back with you.
Okay.
What about council?
I agree.
Where are they housed right now?
They're in Edgerton with the DeWitt's goats, and from what I've gotten from Deb and Everett is Shorty and Tubbs are starting issues with their goats, and they're running out of food because they have too many. So it's kind of a get them situated and housed as quickly as possible.
We'll get with the Horsemen's Association and get back. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You might speak to
Sorry,
Marty
but it's-
Sparks
I don't
because
know.
he's the one who talked to me this morning about the rates.
The bigger ones gonna be gone.
This maintenance report is on the table.
It's hard, one of them have horns.
That'll be a morning board.
Controller employee.
How much money do we have in the streets?
Should we get 56 or
Right
so?
now, there's 26,000 in there, but that's, April's budget. And, there will be more for May because of that increase that we put in.
There was a large increase too, correct?
Yeah,
I remember what it was.
we raised it up to 80,000.
Or something, 76 or something, right? Because we had to
Yeah.
pull from the other or something.
And Sean, we still have others get ready to turn it in, is that correct? Or you don't feel so? On the payment.
Danny has not come out yet. Friday it was raining, I don't really think he's very interested in it, it's, industrial. And Hall's paving is called and postponed and rescheduled a few times, I don't think they're real interested either.
Okay.
But there is some rates. If you look at the Ramshorn one, if we put 3 inches instead of 4 inches, it brings it down to 98,000 for the top one. And for option 3, if you bring it down to 3 inch, it brings the $81,000 down to 76,294.
And Sean, on the overlay in front of the school, you kind of think that kind of throws that out or not?
Yeah, it's optional, and if you look at the
Yeah.
bottom of the quote, it's in red, and if you throw that out, that's less 24,000.
Yeah.
27,000.
I do meet with
So that'd
FPL
bring
on,
you- That'd bring you down to around 60,000.
I meet with FDL on Tuesday to see if there would be any help with them because of the traffic that they had on it during it, when they was plugging that well.
And also on the 71 construction, it's the same thing too. We can kind of piecemeal it, and like they wanna put 4 inches of new base, do we really need 4 inches? I don't know, until you get the asphalt up really. I know there was a good base originally, but obviously there's not anymore in places.
And then, Ramshorn, that was to sweep the streets, is it just the ones they're working on, Sean, or all of them?
No, that was the whole town. He, GPS'd them and measured the whole town, and that's to do all of it. I don't know if he included gas plant or not. I'd have to ask him. But for that price, he ought to do gas plant for free.
Sorry. Not very nice. Wow.
Well, and that's the other thing too. I've been asking Travis and Big D about doing some asphalt work in their places, and that would cut our mobilization cost by however many people participate.
And is, on that mobilization is on 71, is that an 8 or a 6? It's 8,000 or
Yeah.
8,000?
And I don't know why they're so much harder. Better equipment, longer to move it.
Looks like in their estimate that they're including 2 hours per day of mobilization on the 165 an hour job. So I wonder if they've included that in travel back and forth,
Where's that?
in their email and stuff. It says, for the hourly rate for a skid steer with the mill head and operator, it would be 165 an hour, and it would have to include 2 hours per day of mobilization. So they must be traveling out and traveling back with the skid steer every day, or charging for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that would be an extra 1,000 right there on their mob and demob for the 3 days. I mean, it pulled down to 7, it's a little bit more comparable, but,
That was an optional quote for just the smaller spot,
okay.
so whether we do that or not, and then we could just bring them out one day, get whatever we can out of the town a day. And then we do the haul back and forth every day, that's fine.
Do you recommend we wait to see if anybody else is gonna put in?
I will call them both one more time, but after that, I'd say no, and I would say we need to maybe bring, Ian in and sit down and talk to him about exactly what we want, because, like I say, like the 4 inches of base, there may be places that need it, but there may be places that don't, as far as I'm concerned.
So Sean, just to clarify, so it's any patchwork that you felt that needed to be done, is that correct? What, with this 47, right? 4,700 square feet? That they quoted
Yeah,
us on
that's
that
what
first
he did
one?
on his, yes.
Yes, and so does that include, gas plant? Or is that just the Midwest area?
Just Midwest. There's only one bad spot in gas plant.
And that road across there too, where county stops and we start? Don't know about that.
2 inches of asphalt lasted as long as it did. There was 6 inches of base and 2 inches of asphalt when they did the streets in the eighties. That's how they lasted that long. So if you get the 6 inches of base and 4 inches of asphalt seems pretty heavy, you know, what you think, Sean?
Yeah. The only place I would say, and I don't know the asphalt business that well, but the only place I would really say you would need the 4 inches of base is by the school. I think the other spots were, the other 2 major spots are where we dug up leaks. And maybe an inch or 2 of base there, whatever they decide, but I don't think we need 4 or 6 inches of base back in there.
And we are gonna we'll end up finishing up gas plant too, the one spot.
Okay.
What's the council wanna do?
I'd say we could probably get a good 10 or 20% out of the 71 construction one, talking to Ian.
You think we can probably get that down into the 50s?
How about 60?
I mean 71,
Maybe close on 71.
we're 56 now if we don't do the overlay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could say we could get that. I don't see the sense of doing the overlay.
I
Unless
know.
we're
You
getting
know,
help.
it's, if you do the other one properly, probably not. The overlay was intended to keep the water from getting down in on both sides. But I mean, if you bring the original up to gutter level, it should be good, I would think.
What's your thought on that, Jamie? Joe?
No, I understand their concept of doing the overlay, just to form the new crown, make a new road basically with that 1 inch overlay, but if we got the west half of the street, encompass, I mean, it's all southbound, but the right side of the road, I guess, brought up to par, that left side, we don't seem to have drainage issues, cause it all goes downhill, I mean, it all goes towards that school gutter and then pools up there, so even if it was such a thing as to do, we know we're gonna have work in the future, rehab that right side, get it up to par, even if it starts sagging out in 2 years or 3 years down the road, we're gonna have leak holes, we're gonna have more work to be done. Either 20,000 on it now, or $10,000 on it now, and 10,000 in 3 or 4 years.
And Ian did understand that that was strictly optional. the
Sure.
overlay. It was an option he recommended, but was not not absolutely necessary.
Cause most of that traffic is on the right side. The only time it's on the left is, even though the buses are there, most people still park to the left. Whenever the buses leave, and they come into the right side on it. So that left side gets very little local traffic, and houses 1, 2, and 3. And 2 of those are occupied, and that's about it, so. I would think you could just do the right half and see what happens in a couple years down the road. If you have to put another project into it, you know, we're gonna have asphalt.
Not to be pessimistic, but how much longer are the full-size buses gonna be running in and out of that?
Forever.
Yeah.
That's
Hey, Joe
optimistic.
Biden. Hopefully forever.
So we think we ought to bring 71 in first of all, see where we're coming with, what, if we get any help on that, you know?
But we need to move sooner than later so we get this done for
Yeah.
summer.
So you think we can
Or
bring them
Saturday?
back in next week sometime? By then I'll know Tuesday, what if we get help? It doesn't really make any difference whether we get help or not, I mean, we need to move on. And it looks like to me, by having them lower a few things, we could be in around 50, is that right? And we're gonna have that money, right, Bert?
Yeah, should be.
Okay, we wanna make sure we include anything that's in gas plant. And, get everything done while we're here and do it.
We can trade the overlay for gas plant.
There you go.
I'm sure gas plant will come in way cheaper than what the overlay was. Actually, I can go figure that out. Probably could charge.
Would you guys entertain, with the new hire coming on, next week, would you guys entertain us inviting Ian out, having Sean back in for the day. Stephen will be here, I can be there, we could get a definite what spots on what streets are going to be done for what cost, along with the right half or the complete overlay, and have a little bit more firm of a number for you.
Yeah, include him, I'm in favor of
So
that.
I'm not exactly sure what Sean included, I know some of them, but I don't know if all the street repairs were included. There's a couple that are in pretty fair shape for just being road base for several years, and I've stayed road base on South Street for a little while.
The bid is good through the 14th of June. So we need to do something by before then, and we'll have a meeting before then, but
I can call him in the morning and ask him to extend that up to at least the 30th. If you don't think you can make it by the 14th. That's Saturday.
When is our
Meeting on
next,
9.
when's our next meeting? Will we have to have a meeting? Okay, and that night we'll make the decision. Okay.
After we get
Yep.
firm confirmation
Should
of
be
what
able
it all
to
looks
get
like.
him out here before the 7th to get a.
Oh, yeah, he'll come out whenever I'll tell you what, they're good to work with, he's pretty sharp. He also offered us the road base we bought, or the cold mix we buy from Team for $25 a sack, or we can buy it by the ton and stockpile it somewhere.
They didn't have anything to do with street sweeping at all.
No.
Thank you for all your work on that.
There was a street sweeper that pulled into the junction to fuel. And so somebody called me and said, is that something they're gonna do here? And I said, no, but if you can go over there and ask that guy if he'd hire out. He took off. I think everybody in the state's probably been after him. The thing really gets going fast, and he wouldn't look, was trying to flag him down, and he wouldn't stop for nothing. So street sweeping is not easy. Well, we got that covered, we'll handle that. Clerk's report.
The council received a copy of the written accounting procedure at the last meeting. It is a work in progress, as you might have noticed. Can I please get a motion to approve what is written at this point? So I can get the minutes in that, what I have accomplished, to the auditors by Friday. Some of the other stuff they've already requested, I've already sent off to them because it was filed already. The application for deposit of public funds are received. Those are the letters from the banks requesting that we keep them as our banks. I need a motion to designate First Interstate Bank, Wyoming Government Investment Funds, WGIF, WyoStar, Bank of the West, and Wells Fargo as the official depositors for the town. This needs to be done annually. I have given each of you a set to put in your policies and procedures notebook. Here's a zoom in it.
She knows where my notebook's at.
Yeah. The auditor stated that once a year, the council needs to discuss and approve cash and investments deposited for the reserve accounts. They never told me this when they did the audit, but the amount deposited into the water reserve from June 20th to May 21st was $33,222.23. The water bond loan payment was $22,574. The amount deposited into the sewer reserve from June 2020 to May 2021 was $19,153.94. The sewer loan was paid off in November 2020 at $19,575.66. I I will need a motion to approve the deposits. Then I would like to remind the council that the signers on the bank accounts are Guy Chapman, Darla Lindsay, Mandy DeWitt, and myself. Each signer, the judge, Police Chief Jones, and Sean Smith have been bonded. I have given each council member an updated copy of all the bonds. Please replace those bonds in your notebooks with the new ones. Of course, Sean's will not be good after September, but it don't matter. Also, I want to give you guys a heads up. I have not received a phone call back from the Natrona County Treasurer, Tom Doyle, but we received another check for property taxes in the amount of $83,223. So I have called Tom to find out again if this was a mistake.
Actually, before you ask him.
And it has been
That'd be a
deposited. It has been deposited, so.
Oh, yeah.
What was the first one for?
Same thing, it's about the same price, or same amount, yeah.
Jeez, what was it last year?
That's the good news, the bad news is your property tax.
What,
account
each
went
month we get
10,000%.
right around $2,000 or something like that, yeah.
So was this the increase
so-
with what was going on with the county, you think? or-
I have no
So you don't
idea.
know, okay.
Nope, he hasn't given me that kind of information.
You got any service in
I budgeted property taxes, yeah, but I've already asked him that once, I am going to ask him again. I budgeted for this year's property taxes $15,000. And that was one of the dollar amounts that we worked on amending the budget so that we could use those funds. Yeah. So that's all I have for
At
you.
this point in time, just pretend like it's a mistake until you clarify it.
Exactly, exactly.
And get that in writing.
Uh-huh.
So we went through this one time on this one thing, remember when we had to, it was
Oh, yeah.
some kind
That
of
was-
mistake the
that
state
was-
did, and then you didn't
That
get to
was
keep
state
it. You
sales tax.
4% overpayment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They misjudged their percentage by the 1 decimal, remember?
yeah.
it was somebody from out of the county declared some money for the county, and it should have went to a different county,
Yeah.
is what it
Yeah.
ended
Fremont
up.
County.
You had to give it back.
Yes, we did, so. Okay, so,
So I would like to move to accept the written accounting procedures at this time, to be sent to the auditors.
Second?
Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried.
thank you.
Now we have the-
Motion to designate the banks.
I move to designate First Interstate Bank, Wyoming Government Investment Funds, Wildstar Bank of the West, and Wells Fargo as the official depositories for the town.
I will second.
Discussion?
Any discussion?
So, is there a reason why we are using these certain entities?
It's the ones we've always used, yeah, other than that, no.
Okay, so I have a little bit of a qualm with Bank of the West because they are not known for their friendliness to the oil and gas industry. Being how this town, this community has been here this long because of that industry, I don't really agree with supporting them as one of our partners. I do believe the state removed all of their accounts from Bank of the West a few years ago. So I'd like to look into,
Do we wanna go ahead and approve this now and then look into changing?
Yes, I would like that.
So-
What accounts do we have with them right now?
Which one did we have?
Only the sewer savings account.
Sewer savings.
Or
is the one.
sewer, yeah, sewer reserve, there we go.
Sewer reserve is the
yeah.
one that goes with the.
And honestly, I agree with Mandy, not for the same reason, but, some of the stuff that we have to go through to, paperwork and everything is just, and they've always been so hard to work with. It's been awful. And, we keep getting, letters of application for Platte River Bank. And I would like to maybe consider them, if possible. And I'd like to look into that before I actually request it 100%.
Does that work for you, Mandy?
Yeah, I think so, and they're local, which is good too,
If you'll kind of keep one letter on that, and we'll bring that to the next meeting, or,
Sounds good?
so just any other further discussion other than that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried, thank you.
Thank you.
That's good input.
Okay. I will move to approve the deposits from June 21st, 2020 to May 31st, 2020, totaling $33,222.23 into the water reserve account and $19,153.94 into the sewer reserve account.
I'll second.
Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. It's on the mayor's report. Ordinance 2021-04. The word use has been added to the definition for street or highway. In section 4A, notice to abate nuisance, contents, procedure. The word certified has been replaced with first class also, and the notice shall be on a conspicuous location on the property. Has been added to the end of the paragraph. In section 4B, 1, license plate number has been added to the paragraph. Any questions on that?
There's some,
Because I'm gonna try to go through my file, Mr. Meyer.
right there. There's some additions that Rob corrected also.
Do you need me to go through these here?
You can, if, I did not
Okay.
make complete.
That's gonna be these here.
Yeah.
In section 3, remove the requirement for mandatory minimum fine of $25. Section 4A, change the requirement from certified mail to first class mail and add a requirement to post the property with a notice of violation. Section 4B1, add a requirement to include vehicle license plate number and notice of a violation. Section 4B5, remove notice requirement from optional hearing before town council. In section 4C, remove requirement for publication of certain notices of violation. Section 5, remove optional hearing before town council. These are just touch-ups on the codification. Do we need a motion on any of that?
Not yet.
Gotcha. I think that is all I have. Anything from Ron Hamm, the attorney?
No, other than, he gave you a few more things to look at this evening.
Okay.
Besides that ordinance, he did an update on the liquor license and alcohol ordinance, and he looked at the resolution for the 1% specific purpose excise tax, the 6th cent discussion. So you'll discuss those later. Other than that, that's all I have.
Officer Jones, anything?
We did review the ordinance recommendations that Rob made on that 2021-04 that's up for third reading. I think that's what we were in discussion looking for in the final product of that. Just so you guys know, on the section 3, remove the requirement for mandatory minimum fine of $25. In the recodification process, there's a penalty section, and the penalty section outlines what, how the court fines are to be structured at the misdemeanor level on the municipal scale. So every ordinance refers back to that section now, so it's gonna strike any monetary fine required in the ordinance. It's gonna refer back to its own section. So that's the only reason that's been struck. But everything else is looking good on that ordinance. So I encourage you guys to accept that third reading tonight. We move on.
Thank you, Jamie. Anything on animal control?
We have had some reports of the masked bandits coming back into town, so senior traffic season. Remind anybody with animals that they do not wish to be caught in a life trap to keep a good eye on them as far as the time of year they're starting to come out again. So we'll be trapping soon. Also with the moisture we got last week, probably this next week, holiday weekend, usually falls on holiday weekend when we start getting the new brood of mosquitoes. You know, lifespans may only be 14 days, but the reproduction rate's just astronomical. So anticipate some mosquito spraying mid-June. And that's all I have, sir.
Anything at the council member report?
I just had a question on hiring. I noticed you didn't say anything about who we hired and can put that.
Oh, sorry, no.
So in your clerk report, so do you mind going back and doing that so that we all know?
For summer supervisor, we hired, Madison Jones. And, the public works director was agreed to hire Stephen Salvi.
Any other positions open still?
We still have 2 summer helpers. That deadline is June 9th, and then hopefully they will be able to start work on the 16th.
You had quite an interest in that or not?
I have 5 applications right now.
Yay.
1 from last year.
Anything on codification ordinances? Kind of covered that, Jamie.
Still waiting.
Street sweeper, community improvement, veterans wall. Covered the street sweeper, he got away.
I have a question with community improvement. Last year with community improvement, we were allotted some funds to paint a house, and things kind of got crazy last summer, and we were questioning, is that still, did that did the funds from that carry over to a different project of streets or somewhere else, or does zoning and planning still have that funds to paint a house or two?
How much is in the,
I think
How
we're
much was given to it?
2,500.
And I didn't receive any, receipts or anything on that last project you did, so it's gone.
It was covered, it's okay.
Okay, so, yeah, as far as I know, it's still in there.
Yeah, the 2,500 is there, but it'll need to be used by June 30th, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise it'll be.
So could we purchase it, hand in receipts, and then go from there? Cause we still have a pretty firm grasp that we wanna proceed this summer. Last year, things just kinda got in the way, and we'd already spoke to a lady, and she was more than willing, she scraped her paint, and then we kinda hit the bullet on that one, so we'll readdress her, and hopefully we'll get that done this year.
some problem with that? Thank you, Seth. Third and final reading of the annual budget ordinance 2021-03. An annual appropriation ordinance for the town of Midwest Wyoming for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
I move to accept the third and final reading of the annual budget ordinance 2021-03, an annual appropriation ordinance for the town of Midwest, Wyoming, for fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2022.
Second?
Any other further discussion?
I do have one. The 83,000 that you're talking about that does come in, will that have to be appropriated into this June 30 or before?
What we
How
can
would that
do, my suggestion for that is when we get to the end of June or beginning of July, we'll have money in the account that we can designate to different projects and put it into that carryover funds.
Carryover fund will go to our account.
Yep.
Just checking it right now.
Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. Third and final reading of ordinance 2021-04, an ordinance amending ordinance 2020-06 pertaining to public nuisance.
I move to accept the third and final reading of ordinance 2021-04 and ordinance amending ordinance 2020-06 pertaining to public nuisances.
I second it.
Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. And can I have a motion to pay the vouchers?
I move to accept the vouchers presented for payment.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Oh, I wanted to say in this vouchers, I messed up when I wrote one of the checks to Jamie D. I wrote it for $100 instead of $160. And so there is a voucher in there for $60 to Jamie.
You explained that, that was good.
Oh, good, did I already?
No, that was
Okay.
It was a good explanation of it.
Okay.
Resolution 2021-3, a resolution